Welcome to Brevis Talk. The talks you are about to hear will be honest, revealing, and unfiltered. Join us as your host, Pastor Wayne Whiteside, lifts the lid of silence and has conversations about mental illness and health in the church. The goal here is simple. It is to help someone along this journey of life who is struggling. It is to tell the truth to the unsuspecting. And it is to lighten the load of a fellow traveler. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to serve as medical advice or to replace consultation with your physician or mental health professional. If you are experiencing a medical crisis, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. Now, here's your host, Pastor Wayne.
Welcome to another Brevis Talk. We have been away for quite some time. My apologies for that. A great deal has been happening. And so we will try to be more consistent in the days that are coming. Matthew chapter 5, verse 6 says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." Where are the God seekers or the God chasers? The church of today is certainly not full of them. A pastor friend of mine was lamenting when he said, "My people are good, but they are not godly." The early church, whose story is told in the book of Acts, had power and unity not because they sought it, but because they sought God Himself. God's presence was their joy and reward. Psalm 16:11 says, "In your presence is fullness of joy." A.W. Tozer, a prophet of yesteryear, wrote a nice little book that is still in print and worthy of being read. It's entitled The Pursuit of God. A quote from that book: "To have found God and still to pursue Him is the soul's paradox." He also says that if we cooperate with Him in loving obedience, God will manifest Himself to us, and that manifestation will be the difference between a nominal Christian life and a life radiant with the light of His face. And that is also found from The Pursuit of God, the chapter, The Human Thirst for the Divine. The life and diary of David Brainerd is also worth a read. Brainerd was a missionary to the Indians up in the northeastern part of our country. He died at a very young age 29, I believe it was. And his diary and a story about his life have been preserved, and they are worth the read. One of the statements Brainerd says, "Lord, help me to press after Himself forever." Psalm 42 says, "As the deer pants for the water brooks, so pants my soul for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God." Charles Spurgeon, the Prince of Preachers, says in his commentary on verse 1, "And the true lovers of God, they are always thinking upon Him, sighing for Him, panting after Him, talking of Him." There is this relentless pursuit of God that should define our journey. Do you pursue God? Does His presence in your life mean more to you than your next breath? The world's goods have satisfied too many who name the name of Christ. How can this be? Our testimonies have become cheap, flimsy statements of religion minus a glorious Redeemer. Where is Jesus in your testimony? He's mighty to save and mighty to keep. We need Jesus now just as much as we first needed Him to save us. Do you long to be closer to the Lord more than you've ever been? Call out to Him. Speak honestly of your thirst for Him and His presence in your life. If you are not so thirsty, call out to Him and ask Him to make you thirsty for Himself. Do this without delay. Do this now. The Lord will not disappoint. He hears our honest cries and pleadings.
And that concludes our broadcast today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, check us out at our Facebook page or at brevistalk.com and take a look at our blog. And remember, be kind. Always be kind.